There's no denying it, combat in any Assassin's Creed game is the centerpiece of the experience. But will a Viking-themed game lend itself to improvements in this core gameplay system, and will stealth still be a major factor? Hello friends, it's Kodiak here, and welcome to Legacy Gaming. This is the Road to Launch Part 3 for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. No matter how good our diplomacy skills are, there are just some situations you can't talk your way out of. Combat is pivotal to the Viking experience in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and the team has made a number of improvements to ensure our adventures are fulfilling. One of the major changes to the game is the introduction of a robust dual-wield system. For the first time in the series, every one-handed weapon can be wielded in either the main hand or the offhand. This includes things like swords, axes, flails, and yes, even shields. Each weapon has a light and heavy attack which you can string together in a variety of combinations. The weapon reserved for your offhand has access to a special attack which, as the name suggests, taps into a unique nature of that weapon, delivering a devastating blow. A big change for the development team is a more focused approach to weapon design, and instead of hundreds of items strewn about the world, players will focus on improving combat with a limited number of weapons. To enhance the dual-wield system further, players will be able to swap their weapon loadouts mid-battle, quickly swapping their main hand and offhand weapons, allowing them to access the special attack from either weapon currently in use. Adding meaningful depth to the combat in Valhalla was an important factor for the Ubisoft team, and thus they mixed in a number of gameplay mechanics. The first is a stomp feature, an ability unlocked very early on in Valhalla. Eivor can stomp down to enemies, inflicting a massive amount of damage. From the footage we've seen, this looks to be one of the most devastating single abilities in the game. Heavy attacks are also crucial when it comes to breaking enemy shields and stunning them. Stuns are more prevalent than ever and opens up enemies for further attacks, including weak points, a new system that highlights certain vulnerabilities on enemies, providing players with opportunities for increased damage and certain executable moves. Stamina is also an important component of Valhalla combat. Heavy and special attacks, along with dodging, all require stamina, but light or basic attacks restore stamina, which ensures combat is always fast-paced. In my opinion, this is a really smart decision, as it allows players to keep their momentum and gives Assassin's Creed that arcade-style combat that so many people find accessible. Valhalla combat is all about flow and staying engaged with the fight, and dodging is actually a big part of that experience. Almost every attack can be cancelled with a dodge, which allows players to avoid incoming enemy attacks and string together new offensive abilities without feeling weighed down. Now, the pinnacle Viking experience occurs when players tap into special unlockable abilities. We've seen a number of them already, showcased in various gameplay videos, and they include things like Rush and Bash. When activated, Eivor charges forward, grabbing an enemy in front of him or her, and slams them into any environmental object along the way. Other abilities like Throwing Axe Fury unleashes a barrage of ranged projectiles. Finally, in what is probably the flashiest special we've seen thus far, Dive of the Valkyrie launches Eivor into the air as he or she comes hurtling towards the ground, dealing damage and knocking enemies back. These special abilities can be triggered using Adrenaline, a separate resource independent of stamina that acts in very much the same way. Fighting tooth and claw is only really rewarding if we have the proper enemy to unleash our fury against, and this is where we learn about another major development milestone. The Ubisoft team has confirmed that Valhalla will have the most diverse and capable enemies in the entire Assassin's Creed universe. From hulking slayers twice the size of Eivor to nimble berserkers, each enemy archetype brings a new challenge to battle. Although not truly adaptive, enemies will employ new combat tricks to try and knock you off your game. Some enemies can hide in bushes and ambush you, while others can throw objects like bombs or even bodies your way. The team has also hinted that synchronized attacks will be utilized by groups of enemies. Learning how to fight each enemy is almost as important as the fighting itself, but no doubt, with time and repetition, players will be able to identify and dispatch targets with ease. Of course, there are also plenty of boss fights that will provide players with the ultimate combat challenge. We've seen enemies like Rued, a Viking warlord, attack players with massive two-handed weapons, as well as more mystical characters like Regan that tap into the more occult side of Viking lore. Whether it be to further the story or provide players with a fun additional challenge, there looks to be no shortage of these epic fights. Now, there is one thing we haven't discussed thus far with Valhalla, and that's stealth. Not often associated with the bold and brazen nature of the Vikings, stealth is still a major component of Assassin's Creed, although it is treated differently. The first major difference is the ability to toggle your hood on and off. Throughout England, there will be settlements that aren't outright confrontational, but distrusting of your presence. Walk into one of these locations without your hood on and the soldiers will recognize you and attack. However, if you put your hood on and blend in with the peasants, then you'll be able to navigate unseen. I realize this is actually kind of silly saying it out loud, but given that stealth wasn't historically something Vikings were known for, I think the Ubisoft team is hoping we give them a pass here. What really excites me about the stealth in Valhalla is the fact that most enemies, including bosses, can be killed via assassination, and after unlocking a special talent, you have the chance to take down high-value targets from the shadows. Taking down elite enemies isn't easy, and once you have the ability to do so, you still have to pass a skills check in the form of a timing-based minigame. Unlike quick time events, this advanced assassination mechanic doesn't seem to detract from the overall experience. Players that fail the skill check will have to fight the enemies as normal, so unless you have insane timing, it's not an instant win feature. Although not exactly a stealth feature, Eivor will have access to a bird's eye view in the form of a raven named Sinan. Unlike previous Assassin's Creed games, you'll no longer be able to mark every enemy in an encampment, which will make sneaking around just a bit harder. Luckily, you can still mark one high-value target as well as track waypoints in unexplored areas, all from the sky. In the same vein, Eivor has access to Odin Vision, a feature any Assassin's Creed fan will recognize from previous installments in the series. This supernatural ability gives Eivor the gift of sight, allowing him or her to detect enemies through walls, track footprints, and identify interactable items. In combination with stealth, both Sinan and Odin Vision will be a massive part of the subterfuge component in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We hope you enjoyed our third Road to Launch video for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In our next episode, we'll be talking about questing and secondary activities in the game. Legacy Gaming plans on covering Assassin's Creed Valhalla top to bottom, as well as streaming in our Legacy After Dark series, so if you like our videos and want more great content in your feed, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, consider joining us on Discord. We have over 6,000 members spread across dozens of great games, so click that link below and join today. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.